Good morning, ESL 5. Today is May 8th, Friday, so happy Friday. We are doing number 50, Children of War, Children of the Civil War. Read and annotate the article, then complete the ELA writing and quiz. Today we're going to read at level 600. That's a very low level. Do not go lower than that, please. I know you can do better. Alright, so we are going to read primary sources from the Civil War. This article is titled Voices of Children Who Witnessed the Civil War. So these were stories of children who lived at that time and how they were impacted. So while we're reading today, I want you to think about what you're learning about the Civil War through these primary sources. So here's a picture. We see some children out on the land, some soldiers on horses across from them. Maybe this could be a man or an adult. Let's read the caption at the bottom. A group of children look on as a troop of cavalry, which means an army, from the Union Army of the Panamac water their horses in the stream on the old battlefield of Bull Run and Manassas Junction circa November 1862. Circa just means like this picture was taken in 1862 at Bull Run, Fairfax County, Virginia, United States. All right, this article was written 2 years ago in 2018. So remember, when we have these italics, it's giving us information before we start reading the article. It's giving us some kind of background information. Usually we see this on News ELA when it's information about a primary text or a speech. So giving us some background to understand what kind of sources we're about to read. Okay. States in the North and South fought over slavery. The war began in 1861. It went on for 4 years before the North's Union Army claimed victory over the South's Confederate troops. Remember, Confederate is describing the people in the South, that when they seceded and became their own country. The war affected countless people, including many children. It touched the lives of children from the North as well as the South. It affected both white children and black children. Below are the voices of 4 boys and girls who lived through the war. They later described what they saw and experienced. All right, here's our first kid. This child is Matilda Pierce. She was a 15-year-old in Gettysburg. She helped care for the wounded Union Army soldiers, so people who got hurt, during the Battle of Gettysburg in 1863. So Tilly, or Matilda. Soldiers who were hurt on the battlefield came to our farm. Many were crying out in pain from their injuries. Their wails filled the barn, the orchard, and the house. Some of the soldiers begged doctors to cut off their wounded arms and legs. The doctors held a cow's horn over the soldiers' noses. Through the horn, they breathed in a chemical called chloroform. It put them to sleep while the doctor did the surgery. I kept busy tearing cloth into bandages to cover and bind their wounds. The pile of soldiers' arms and legs rose higher than the fence. It was a terrible sight. So here she's saying that when they would cut off, like if someone's arm or leg got really badly injured, at that time they didn't have the medicine to help fight the bacteria that could lead to someone dying. So often they would cut off this arm or leg so that the person wouldn't get the infection in the rest of their body. And so this girl is talking about she would watch a pile of arms and legs higher than the fence near her farm. Billy Sunday, who was then a baby in Ames, Iowa. Billy is a boy. I never met my father. He died of disease in a Union Army camp. Union is in the north. I was just 1 month old at the time. Mother was left alone in a log cabin on the prairie with my 2 brothers and me. She remarried and had 2 more children with my stepfather. Then he left us too. A prairie is similar to meadow. Mother knew we needed more than she could provide for us. So when I was 12, she sent my brother and me away to an orphanage to take care of us. At the train station, she wrapped her arms around us and cried. We didn't see her again for years. An orphanage is a place where children live who don't have parents. Usually, sometimes the government gives money for these orphanages, and usually it's churches that create orphanages and take care of children. And in Muslim countries, it's people will do it as well in mosques. Next story. Hamid Dell, then 15, from Tennessee. I don't know if this is a girl or a boy. We'll find out. A battle was taking place 10 miles away. It was pretty far from us. Yet the cannons still shook the ground and rattled the tin plates in Master White's cupboard. It sounded like God's judgment day was upon us. Hungry soldiers from both the north and the south would steal our food. They even took food from the slave quarters where I lived. There wasn't a chicken or an ear of corn left after soldiers came by. The Northerners snatched every horse on the property. They left only 1 old mare. The next time the soldiers rode up, I hid in the hazelnut bushes. A big hornet's nest hung overhead. I pitched a rock at the nest. The hornets swarmed all over the soldiers. Hornets are a type of bee, like bzz, bzz, bzz. If you want, you can just look up the picture. So we can copy that word, go up to Google, put it in. What does a hornet look like? Alright, these are hornets. It's a type of bee that hurts a lot when it stings you. Okay. Next story, Sue Chancellor, who was 16. Sue is a girl's name. She's from Virginia. Confederate troops came to the inn my mother ran. Confederate, so people, army from the south. An inn is like a hotel. It's what they called hotels back at that time. My 5 sisters and I welcomed them. The soldiers were camping nearby. They were guarding the Rappahannock River. We played the piano and sang and played cards with the soldiers. One man bought me a pet lamb. A lamb is like one of those little animals. Let's go look at a picture of that too. Sometimes they kill these to eat them. This is a lamb. So a pet is like something you keep to play with. One man bought me a pet lamb. The fun ended after several months though. Then the Union Army marched into the area. Major General Hooker took over the inn. He shooed us to the back room. As the battle drew closer, we hid in the cellar. We stood in water that covered our shoes. A cellar is the place under a house. Sometimes people use it for storage. Later, a Union officer led us upstairs and away from the inn. The woods looked like a sheet of fire. The air was filled with gunfire. Horses were running and screaming. At my last look back, the inn was in flames. So this is talking about this girl who in the beginning they helped the soldiers and they would play with them. They were very nice, but then the war, battles came close to them, and eventually they lost their inn because someone set it on fire. All right, let's go to our activities. We're going to do ELA, writing, not social studies, ELA. You're in ESL 5. Here's the question. Draw a conclusion from these stories. What is something you learned about the Civil War from these children's stories? Write in your own words. So you're going back to these stories, thinking about what did you learn? What kind of conclusion can you draw from these stories about about the Civil War? It could be about slaves, it could be about the Union and the Confederacy, it could be about people and how they lived, maybe about the military and soldiers. So something that you learned in your own words, please. Then go do the quiz, and you're finished. Bye.